Introducing YouTube memberships, a fun way to support the channel while getting some exclusive perks. Click the join button to become a member now and get benefits like badges next to your name on videos, behind-the-scenes photos, advantages during the live trivia game, discounts on merchandise, private one-on-one video chats, the ability to request future video topics, and exclusive 8 to 10 minute videos on the history of the NFL. And now, on with our feature presentation. Well, Jags episode was coming sooner rather than later. Just hate that it had to come like this. October 15, 2023. It's week 6 of the NFL season, and we're down at Everbank Stadium for this AFC South battle between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Indianapolis Colts. This is a big game for the main subject in our story, the Jaguars, for a few reasons. Number one, they've got an insane streak to protect. The Colts haven't won a game in Jacksonville since 2014, as the Jags have won every year down there for nearly a decade, even during games where they had no business winning. You can learn more about that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. But number two, as they look for their third straight win after a successful trip to London, this is a battle for first place in the AFC South, as both the Jags and Colts find themselves at 3-2 through 5 games. Win this one against your former quarterback in Gardner Minshew, and not only do you complete the season sweep of the Colts, but you take control of sole possession of first place in the division through 6 weeks. And the good news for the Jaguars is that so far, they have taken care of business, and then some. The Jags are cruising throughout this ballgame, in complete control from their opening drive of the game. The defense has forced 4 turnovers. The team scored a touchdown on 3 of their first 5 drives. Gardner Minshew can't throw anything more than 5 yards down the field. And the Colts, despite having a solid running game on paper with Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss, either can't run the ball on this day, or aren't even trying to run. The Jags lead at 21-6 at the half, lead at 31-6 at the end of 3 quarters, and though the Colts mount a brief comeback attempt, by this point in the game, following a failed 4th down attempt by the Colts, the Jags lead by 14 points, leading 34-20 at the 16-yard line facing 3rd and 8 with 3 minutes left, and the Colts only having 1 timeout. This game is over. That's all she wrote, folks. You're in field goal range, and even if you don't get the first down, a field goal makes it a 17-point game, and makes this already insanely difficult deficit an insurmountable one, the likes of which would almost be unprecedented. Just run the ball, get out of here, and get yourself into next week. Just don't do anything stupid here to jeopardize yourself in a game that you've already won, and you should be fine.
Man in motion is Tim Jones. Fake handoff. Lawrence just running for his life. And he is brought down.
Oh God, oh God, oh God. Are you actually kidding me? You did that? You called a play leaving your franchise quarterback out to dry in a game that you've got locked up? Don't even tell me what you think just happened. Please don't. Just please don't.
And now Lawrence is late to get to his feet.
Timeout, Indianapolis.
Boy, what a disastrous play that is for the Jags. Lawrence gingerly made his way to the sideline. This was the play where we saw Lawrence come up, hobbled a little bit right there, the left.
Welcome to Dumb Decisions. Before we break down what happened here, this whole series is about taking an in-depth look at decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something that look bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something that look awful almost immediately. These are moves where your gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way this can possibly work. And sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of an NFL head coach. And for this one, we're going to take a look at the mind of the Jacksonville Jaguars head coach Doug Pederson. 2 quick things before we go ahead with this. Number one, Pederson was the one afterwards that said he did the play call and that he would do it again. Whether that's legit or not, or if he's just covering up for offensive coordinator Press Taylor, I honestly don't know, but I'll take him at his word. To be honest, I have no clue who's running the plays half the time with this team, because it feels like I'm watching 2 completely different teams and 2 different personnel groupings on each drive. But number 2, I really like the job that Pederson has done in Jacksonville. Yes, I did a Dumb Decisions episode about him last year, regarding a bizarre decision with a play that he did not challenge in the game against the Giants. which you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner. But obviously, he has been a revelation for Jacksonville, especially considering what he inherited. But this might have been his worst moment as a head coach with this team. Yes, the Jaguars won this game, but this is way bigger than that, and I hope I'm wrong, but this play has a chance to have massive implications on the season as a whole if what I think happened actually happened. So with that being said, let's take a look at why calling a naked bootleg with your franchise quarterback on third down when you're in field goal range up by 14 points with 3 minutes left is a really bad idea. Jesus Christ. The goal with this play was simple. Fool the Colts and try to pick up the first down to churn some clock and end the game. You can't even totally do that by picking up the first down, as the Colts are going to get it back. Even if you get the first, the Colts call a timeout. You have to call 2 plays before the 2-minute warning, and then you have to call a third right after that. So even if that was your objective, barring a penalty, considering where you are on the field, it is physically impossible to keep control of the clock for the entire rest of the game and not have the defense step on the field. But you know what else, for all intents and purposes, ends the game besides a first down? That's right, a field goal. A freaking field goal ends the game. You're up by 14 points. If you walk away from this drive with 3 points, you win the game. A field goal makes it a 17-point game, so you're up by 3 scores. The Colts have no timeouts and have to somehow score a touchdown, recover an onside kick, score another touchdown, recover another onside kick, and score a field goal to tie it up in a 3-minute stretch, all while having a noodle-arm quarterback in Gardner Minshew who cannot throw more than 5 yards down the field without a Jaguar defender being in the vicinity and getting an interception. You're at the 16-yard line, so for all intents and purposes, if you run the ball here traditionally and get a yard or get back to the line of scrimmage, it's a 33-yard field goal, which is the same distance as an extra point, of which your kicker, Brandon McManus, is a perfect 14 for 14 on the season. And since the rule change in 2015 to move the distance back to the 15-yard line, has gone 250 for 259, hitting nearly 97% of the time from that spot. It is pretty much automatic. And even if he doesn't get it, the Colts still have to drive the length of the field, get a touchdown, recover an onside kick, and get another touchdown just to have a chance at winning. The game is won. The game is over. And in a situation like this, especially when you've got a short week, you do not put your key players in jeopardy. You do not risk injury. It's the same reason you see the backups come into a game when it's all but over. The reward of whatever happens with the starters in there does not outweigh the risk. You just don't take a chance in that situation like that when there's literally no need to, since the first down doesn't even achieve your objective of keeping the ball for the rest of the game based on where you are on the field. And if you make it a 3-score game, which is pretty much a lock barring anything absurd, seeing where you are on the field and seeing who your kicker is, then it's even more over than it was before. And somehow, it gets even stupider, because in case you couldn't tell, Jacksonville's offensive line is in absolute shambles right now. Walker Little, who was moved over to left guard once Cam Robinson came back, he's out. He was hurt. He didn't play. So you've got a backup in there on the interior. Brandon Sheriff, the all-pro guard that you acquired from Washington last year in free agency, he left the game early with an injury, so he's out. That means that the interior of the line, with your franchise quarterback, is being held up by backups right now. This is not as though you've got the mid-2010s Cowboys back there. On a naked bootleg like that, if it gets blown up and the blocking doesn't hold, the defender has a free shot at the quarterback, and you're completely screwed. There's nothing else to it. You're screwed all the way. And it's not as though Trevor hadn't been sacked a few times already during this game and taken a few hits. It's not as though the offensive line wasn't struggling as it was. So up by 14 points in a game that you, for all intents and purposes, have already won, you call a play where if it gets blown up, you're putting your franchise quarterback and maybe your season in jeopardy. And Doug, do you recognize this man right here? Do you? This is Trevor Lawrence, and in case you couldn't tell, he's really good. I don't think you recognize him, because if you did, you'd realize that he's the most important player on your team. If Trevor is out, you are screwed, especially since you've got a short week coming up and have to play the Saints on the road on Thursday Night Football, a team with a very good defense with a quick turnaround. You cannot lose Trevor Lawrence. You just can't. Putting him in a situation like this, where he has a good chance to be completely unprotected and take a shot late in a game that you've already won, isn't just stupid, but it's downright irresponsible. I want to reiterate, as much as I hate the call, if the Jags tried something like this on 3rd and 3 in the second quarter of a game, or 2nd and 8 in the first quarter, or something like that, this would not be on dumb decisions. It would just be your typical play that got blown up. It's the fact that you call the play where there's a super high chance that your franchise quarterback, who's already been hit a few times today, is being hung out to dry in a game that you've already won, which could have implications beyond this week, especially since you've got a game just 96 hours after playing this one. It is just absolutely idiotic to put this man right here, Trevor Lawrence, in unnecessary danger like that. It's almost like if your friend says there's a party starting at 6 o'clock, and being prompt, you want to make sure you get there on time. You get into your car at 5:30, your friend's place is 5 minutes away, and the GPS says you'll be there at 5:35. Alright, so that is not a concern at all. You're going to reach your destination on time without a shadow of a doubt. But you decide to take your own path, cut across people's lawns just to get there on time, and speed by going 130 in fear that you otherwise won't make it on time. Like, what is the point? Not only did you screw up your life well beyond this day, but you didn't even need to do that. Your goal was to make it on time. You were going to make it with plenty of time. You did not need to do that and put yourself in danger. And that's what Doug Pederson did here for no reason whatsoever. He said after the game that he had no issues with the call, and said, in situations like that, you've seen it work a million times. 1,000,001, it didn't work. But have we? Seriously, have we, Doug? This is a new offensive line for all intents and purposes. This is an offensive line made of scraps, going up against a very good interior led by DeForest Buckner. And even if this play did work, so what? So what if it did work? The alternative of just running the ball traditionally and kicking the field goal would have worked just as well, with 1,000,000 times less risk. Whether this play worked or not, you win the freaking ball game, and you don't injure your franchise quarterback in the process. Come on, Doug. Just think about this for a bit, please. The franchise quarterback, the entire season, is on the line here. And look, Trevor Lawrence is a warrior. The man's a fighter. I remember vividly last year in a game against the Detroit Lions where at the end of the first half, he took a nasty sack. And I think every Jags fan, including myself, thought he tore his ACL. I thought it was toast. I thought it was done for. But somehow he came back in the second half. And I don't know how, but he somehow did it. The man has played through some immense pain before. I love the guy. He's amazing. And he is an absolute warrior. He might play against the Saints. But it never should have gotten to that point in the first place. The fact that it did in the game between these two teams behind it right here is just flat out irresponsible. There are some things late in a game that you've already won that you don't do with the franchise quarterback. And this was one of them. This was a straight up no-no on Doug Pederson's part. So what do we learn from all of this? Don't jeopardize your franchise quarterback in a game that you've won. Don't jeopardize your franchise quarterback late in a game with a backup offensive line when you've got the win locked down. When you're about to go up by 3 scores with 3 minutes left and the opposition having no timeouts. And when you've got a short week coming up. If you've won the game and there's not even a shadow of a doubt that you won, then calling a play that has a legitimate chance of impacting the next game and maybe the game after that, and who knows, maybe the entire season, because I don't know if Trevor's going to be fully healthy for the rest of the year, is absolutely moronic. The Jags might play in Duval, but here, Doug Pederson took the ball out and replaced it with MB. Because that's what this play was. Straight up dumb. Because when all these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision. Get your official Jaguar Gear 9 merchandise by going to jj9shop.com, and be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Join me every Wednesday night where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. To learn more about the history of college football, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To learn more about the history of Major League Baseball, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 7. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.